Hello everybody, this is Sherman Sheldon again, coming to you from Tempo Trend in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. Hope you're enjoying these lessons, and as you cruise along, I think we're at number 7 tonight, so don't worry, I'm not gonna, oh, I will do some of that, but because of the hat, just for fun, put a different tint on everything. What we're doing tonight, I got a lot of things to review now. The more we do, the more we have to review. So a lot of things going on. I'll open with a little jam thing here, but tonight we'll review some of the things we talked about. Chromaticism in the last one. I hope you remember that chromatic scale. Had a chance to try that. We'll use more chromaticism in the licks that I show you. We will do licks. We're laying the groundwork right now. We'll have, tonight I want to talk about double stops, get those on the board. We talked about tritones a little bit last time. Going to review those, put those into our mix of our playing and discuss that. And then I'll touch on, I'm trying not to be rude and look away, but looking at an outline here, major pentatonic, developing the major pentatonic to bring it up to a level that's sort of at par, if we can ever achieve that, with the minor pentatonic that everybody knows and loves so well. So we're trying to bring that up to that level, and then of course we'll double back and get some more of the modes going, Mixolydian. On the horizon we've got minor blues coming up. We'll touch on various minor scales, Dorian mode, get that Santana sound going. We'll talk about harmonic minor scale, which is really nice to get around the corners on the 7 chords, the 5 7s, as we call them. So I'll start off with a little jam here. I think I'll put it in, I wasn't sure which key, but I'll bring it back to the key of G, okay? Just do a little bit of rambling around with there, and I'll keep the tone more or less clean, and we'll see if we'll include some of the ingredients that we'll be talking about, okay? So here we go. 2, 3. Okay, hope that was loud enough. I was a little distracted there, and I strategically put one mistake in, a couple mistakes actually, but I put a couple mistakes in there since I know some of you hot shots are keeping score, wondering where will he screw up. So I just didn't want you to leave disappointed. I hope they bought that. Anyway, so that was incorporating a few of the things, the major minor, a little bit of Mixolydian. I put a little bit of chromaticism in there. And I ended with this thing. I was going to palm the pick, and I'll talk about that a little bit too. But so where you have, and I showed you those guys. You had the for G, this one for C, just reviewing, and this one for D, which I showed you. Now let's talk about how that can work. just take your minor pentatonic for a minute. Forget the major. Just think if you had the top skinny strings of your minor pentatonic. And maybe just the first two strings. Could you pinch this? And if you want to palm the pick or get rid of it somehow, or if you're a fingerstyle player, you just put the pick down completely. But I'm going to try to do it with the pick, incorporating the pick. You can do that and then use the other two fingers. Hybrid picking, we call this. It takes practice to splay those out, or you can palm it and then use these two to pinch the tritone, and then the ring finger for your notes, your melody notes. So anyway, on each one of those, so that's just a minor pentatonic, forgetting the rules of the minor major thing. You'll notice that when the chord changes for C, you got a bit of a stretch here. Not for everybody, okay? But you can get some of that. You might just go. So if you wanted to play along with that G and then the D, so try the fingering. I think Lenny Breau preferred these two fingers for the anchor, for the tritones, and then you work the melodies around with the other ones. You could try anything. I vary it depending on what I'm feeling. So here's D at the 5th and 4th frets with the pentatonic, and here's C. Again, not the easiest area, but we're in G, and so I'm just going to put one of these on each beat. I wasn't doing that when I was jamming a minute ago. Now you don't have to play a note on each pinch, right? You can let some of them just be a pinch. So that takes a little bit of restraint, but let's see if I can do that. Oh, reset. Here we go. Could have been a little louder on the amp, I guess. That backing track's a little loud. But anyway, so if you get the drift of that, now that's a very mechanical way of doing it, but it's a good way to practice and integrate that. Now, I actually used a melody note from the major pentatonic in there. So it will work. You can cross over. I'm just making it easy on you. Start with the minor, but you can go. Went to the C. I didn't feel like reaching way over here to the 6th fret. I just went to the E note at the 5th. So that can sound nice. You can go, and of course that E note is in the C chord anyway, so it's already there. So anyway, you can fool with that. Now there are more of them coming up the line. I'll just show you where they are, and you can fool with them as you go through your other patterns, because we're moving up to the fifth row tonight. So here's another one for G. That's the 9th fret, 8th fret, respectively. Whatever fingers you want to use, that's up to you. And here's the one for C, 8th fret and 7th fret. This is on the 4th and 5th strings, of course. And then for D, it'll be up here at the 10th and 9th. So that one's interesting because that overlays your form 3 if you're playing all minors. So here I'll see how I'm making it prance a little bit. I'm trying to play the notes between the lines, so you can either do one on the beat or off a little bit. So if I did them all off, it would sound like this. A little bit horse and buggy, a little bit too jumpy. So you want to have, but all on the beat is too rubato. So a little bit of each is good, so you could go. So that kind of thing. Okay, so experiment with that. We're not going to get too deep into it right now, but I wanted you to have some fun with that and throw that into your solos. You can also use that as a filler for a solo. So if you're soloing like this, so hopefully that'll keep you entertained and amused a little bit, fooling around with that. It's hard to integrate that if you haven't already done those into a solo, but it's a good idea to get familiar with it. So tritones, it's the flat 7 and the 3rd of the chord. Okay, so you've got the warm tone and you got that biting tone, and sometimes they invert. So in the G, that's the 3rd, and that's the flat 7. When you go to C, that's the 3rd and that's a flat 7. Thoroughly confusing, right? But anyway, just memorize them, enjoy the sounds. We'll talk about the theory later. Okay, now on my looper pedal down here, I've put what's called the ice cream progression. Now that's in G, it would be G, the 1 chord, E minor, the 6 minor, C, the 4 chord, and D7, the 5/7 chord. Okay? So I give you a little bit of time on each chord in a cycle, and what I want you to do is to play your major pentatonics all the way across. So recapping, we have form 2 here, same ones we use for the blues, major pentatonic, form 3, form 4, form 5, and tonight, hurrah, hooray, hurrah, here's form 1. But in a roll, unlike it's you put some double stops in there, which we'll be talking about soon. So you've got form 1 here overlapping with form 5. And that's our column for the evening. But right now I'm going to put this on, and this ice cream progression, 1, 6 minor, 4, 5, 7, and play simple major pentatonic stuff over the top of it, and then I'm going to gradually bring in those hollow notes on my charts which represent the other scale tones. So I'll morph from being pentatonic to a major scale. Playing over the 1 chord, that would be the Ionian mode, I guess, and then you'd have the Aeolian, which would be over the E minor, and then Lydian on the C, and then Mixolydian on the D7. So if you want to put formal names to it, you can go for it. The main thing is this scale works for all those chords. Just try to get your spidey sense for what the best notes to stop on. Obviously the notes of each arp are going to work best, but for now we're just going to have some fun with this and get a flow. So here it goes. Here it goes. Form 3, form 4, form 5, form 1, form 2, repeating. If you feel a bend, go for it. Back to form 5, form 4, that was form 3, now form 2. Now I'm going to play full major scale. So if you get the drift there, you can see that you can bring your major pentatonic up to a higher level, throw in some bends in there, and then when you're coming off this, you'll have what did I do there? Chromaticism, haha. So in form 2, that blandest of scales can suddenly take on some new, and that's just filling in the cracks with a chromatic scale we talked about. So experiment with that, bring that up to the level. Okay, so tonight here we are. We've got this wonderful form 1 up here at the 12th. Form 5 for your 4 chords. Kind of sassy, you can feel it. And then you've got, just checking, you've got Mixolydian over that D chord, which would be this guy, which is familiar to you, isn't it? Just up here at the 12th fret, little baby D7 chord there. So you don't need that many notes. You've got 4 seconds kind of in a bar. So, but you've got the arp as well, which looks like this. Stretch. So I might do a little bit of that. Who knows? And then you got form 4. And then form 1. So that form 5 is sassy, plenty sassy. So let's see how that would sound. I'll call them out. Form 1. Form 5. Form 1. Form 5. Mixolydian. Form 5. Form 1. Mixolydian. So there you go, that's the final column presented to you. You've got those overlaps just as my chart displays them, and I hope it's clear enough for you that you can say, okay, I think I understand. So work toward bringing your major pentatonic, as I did when I played a looper with the ice cream, the G, E minor, C, and D7. Work your way up to the level where you feel more confident with that, using every trick you can think of. And we're going to talk about string bending very soon. I'm going to get into a string bending mood. It's going to come over me, and I'm going to make you aware of all the different moves that I do. I know I'm doing some there that you're probably wondering where they come from or how they pertain, what the theory behind them. I'm going to explain it all to you as we go, and I'll show you how to incorporate that into your licks. We will be talking about licks. Be patient. So as far as I can see, I've covered just about everything I wanted to in this, but I wanted to show you in terms of the major thing. You can have some fun with if you make a little loop of a song that I have here that everybody knows is the Let It Be by the Beatles, and it's in the key of C, and you got your C, G, A minor, F, C, G, F, C, and that's it. It's just a loop going around here that I have. I'm gonna attempt to play. I'll put a little bit of raunch on here. I'll attempt to play the Harrison solo and show you how he's thinking. Now this is key of C. Use a little bit of everything here. So 2, 3. Close enough for jazz. So what's he doing there? He's using primarily form 1 for major, C, sliding into a bit of form 2 for C, again C major, and form 4 for C major at the 12th fret. With a little bit of sass. Now he's putting some bends in there, and that's a bit of a flat 5 concept. We talked about that, doing those flat 5s. Okay, but in a major context. So that's a very interesting thing to analyze and see that when you're playing sort of a torch ballad, you want to lift the song. That's a great way to do it. You play out a major and add a little bit of minor. And I think some people like Slash have done that on Knocking on Heaven's Door. You hear him playing some major stuff, and then he goes right into the, it contrasts the minor to such a degree that when you play it, it sounds really, I'll just say sassy, you know, and it puts a lot of zing into it, because it's coming off, you're setting them up with this sweetie sweet thing, and then suddenly you throw that in. So in a ballad context, you could play primarily major and add a little bit of sass with the minor. So if I were playing on this thing, just doing my own little representation on what George was doing, I might throw a little bit of minor in there, and just to make it easier to recognize it, I'll throw the minor pentatonic form 1 at the 8th fret, which I'm sure most of you know. So I'll just do this thing again and throw a little bit of zing in there, okay? So you can see that adds a little bit of something, aggression maybe you can say. Okay, just to round this one out before I go into the next one, which I'll dive in full tilt. You can't read this from that distance, but we'll have this at the end of this block. I've shown you on this, turning out the wrench here, I've shown you the 2 major forms and the 2 7 forms of chords that you're most familiar with. So if you're taking it from G, I've written these down the first place they occur on the neck. They're written for F, so it'd be here. Here's F major, you all know. Here's F7, and here's B flat, and here's B flat 7. So off each of those, I show you what the thirds would be, the fourths, and the fifths and sixths. What we're going to do is we're going to start with the thirds first, and you can see on the F major chord, and you've got to put yourself on a loop, and you can hear this. So I show them going up, you can hear that that's going to work. You can also work that from what we call the sixths. So you've got this coming out of the chord, and you do a pinch on that. So pick and then middle finger. I'm sure you guys have done some of this, but I'm just being very thorough. Okay, so that's for the major. And you can also do, I think tenths are really important to stress at the start. So you have to do a big pinch here. So you can see that in the chord. You can see the middle finger and the first finger there. Just take everything away. Nice nice big pinch. These are great for walking the bass when you're playing chords behind somebody. Double threes, split, 10th interval, 10 letter names apart. And then, so you can see how those work. Now, we're in the key of G, so you're going to have to jack these up, right? I put them in F, so you're covered for the whole neck. Move everything up to G. So now I've got, I had the third. Now we're in a blues, so we don't want to play F major. You know that that's in that F7, the G7 chord. So you're going to want to go to the second row, which is the 7th chords, and you'll notice that that one note has been attended to the way you need it to. It's not this anymore. It's this. And everybody's heard. So now you've got, some nice double stops to work with there. And tenths. You notice I did a chromatic thing there. I didn't talk about that yet. Fill in the crack between, if it sounds good. Or backwards. One cool thing to do with double stops, you can make them yodel. Okay, so when you're playing that in our blues, and I'll develop this next lesson, but I'm just teasing you with this one in case you need a little extra time. I'm going to throw in some of those, and it goes chord by chord. So here's G. Here's some double stops. 6th. C. Here's minor pentatonic. Here's the thirds. D. C. So that's a bit of a tease as to how you can work those in. I could sit here and play double stops, I think, through the whole thing and use all the various ones. We've got some other ones. We've got, obviously, fourths. This is your fourth. Everybody knows that one. But when you go from fourths and then thirds, you can get some really nice... That's a 6th of a different sort. So you have... You can see them in the chords, though. There's your six letter names apart. Here's a 5th. Those are crazy. Roman legions or something, right? And then you got your thirds come out of there. You can see the third there. Okay, so that's a little taste of what's going to be coming on the horizon. This will be posted at the end of the lesson. This is, it's called double stops, bar chords and double stops, okay? So you just refer to that, learn them off the F and the B flat, move them up 2 frets, and you get your G on the Fs. You move the B flats up 2 frets, you get your Cs. Move them up 2 more frets, you can get some D stuff. And focus on the majors and the 7s and see what happens for you, okay? Presented a lot of stuff tonight, let it sink in. I'll have a different hat for the next lesson, I promise. Take care, have fun.